members. Sorry. Sorry. Councillor Bridgen has given his apologies. So can I just turn to the first item on the agenda for the election of chair, please? May I have a proposer?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Fry.
Thank you. And a seconder? Sorry.
It's been seconded.
Sorry, Councillor.
The good news is that means you haven't got to move, Jill.
Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. We've had apologies from Councillor Bridgen, Councillor Latif, Ashan Kadida and Katie Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I remind everybody, please, that this meeting is live streamed to the public and a recording of the public part of the meeting will be available on the Council's website within 24 hours of the meeting. Those in the chamber, please remember to switch microphones on when speaking and speak directly into the microphone and to turn them off when finished speaking. With attendees in the chamber, please switch mobile phones off or place them on silent mode. If you need to take a call, please leave the room and return when you are finished. Thank you. Are there any amendments to the minutes?
Thank you, Chair. There's a revised set of minutes circulated earlier this morning by email, and the hard printed copies are available in the meeting, which make reference to Councillor Wynne, who substituted for Councillor Fry at the last meeting in January. Thank you.
Is that everything dealt with now?
That's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I now move on to item number 8 on our agenda, and I ask Dominique Fratterusso, I hope I pronounced that correctly, to present the annual report of the Luton Virtual School for the academic year 23-24.
Hi there. I'm Dominique Fratterusso. I am lucky enough to be the head teacher of Luton's Virtual School for looked after children and young people. Do you just want me to go straight into it? Yeah, okay. So the report...
My apologies. Oh. Sorry to interrupt you. I forgot to ask for declarations.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Governor at Stalla Primary School.
Thank you. If that is all their interests, I'm very sorry to have to interrupted you. Can you please continue?
Yeah, no worries at all. So as I was saying, I'm lucky enough to have been in the post of virtual school head teacher since last July. This report that you've got reflects the academic year before I joined, so 2023 to 24, analysing the data for our cohort, which was an invaluable activity for me in being able to identify the strengths and areas of development of the service, being new to post. So some of the key strengths that came out from this report is the partnership that the virtual school has with partners across the 31 local authorities in which our children were placed last academic year. The overall attendance of our pupils was above the national figure for children looked after. Suspensions were lower than the national figure for children looked after. We had no children that were permanently excluded. Our early years good level of development was higher than not only the national figure for children looked after, but also for all Luton pupils. And also we saw an increase in the percentage of Key Stage 2 pupils achieving expected in reading, writing, maths. So obviously you've already been, the report has already been circulated, so I won't go into what you've already received. So can I open up to questions?
Councillor Hussain?
In terms of the looked after children, in their achievement, can you give us roughly, I mean, the figures are there, but in terms of ethnicity as well as the numbers, what is it this year compared to the last year in their achievement difference? Have they made progress? Has it went down, or are we still not, catching up from last year? Have you got that? What I'm asking is achievement, ethnicity, and is it down or upwards from last year?
Thank you. So with regards to the achievement, the cohort, obviously this is a review of the results progress from over the last academic year. So our cohort right now will be different to what it is last year. So it is hard to do that direct measurement because obviously children come into care and then they leave care and we just track them while they are in care. But we are monitoring progress really closely. We have now got a termly pupil progress meeting, which is new for this academic year. And at the end of every term, we analyse the progress, we analyse the achievement to date, and we scrutinise that data alongside the virtual school advisory teachers to ensure that we are putting in as much support possible. So we are really focused on improving the achievements and the outcomes for our young people. But I haven't got a direct comparison from now to then at this time.
I do understand that the children come into care, some majority of them for a short period, but there are those that are in care for a number of years. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about them children that have been in care for a foster carer, or in terms of them where they have been into families for a long time. Their progress, because they were making huge progress some years ago, is that continue to be the case, or are we talking now? What are the because it doesn't give in this report. I didn't see those figures, how we are doing compared to the national and also our statistical neighbours.
So with regards to achievement, we have got all of the results. I mean, obviously we have the ethnicity of the cohort as well, but we haven't in this report broken down the actual progress or attainment by ethnicity to a sort of pupil level. You can see that the majority of our cohort is white British, which is different to sort of the cohort within Luton of primary school age children. So we have got the breakdown, sorry, I'm just trying to get to the attainment page of what the, yeah. So what is, sorry, could I just clarify, what is it you specifically want to know? I
specifically want to know the progress those children that have been in care for a considerable amount of time, what is the progress there, because nationally it's not very good for the children in care in general. But how is Luton doing comparatively with other local authorities? That's what I'm talking about.
So
not those that come in for 3 months and then, moved on. I'm talking about those that have been for maybe 18 months, 2 years, whatever period.
Yeah.
I think that's it's trying to understand the comparisons year on year in terms of the attainment of our children in care for long periods of time, and actually has there been any shift maybe from last year to this year in terms of their academic attainment. And then, Councillor, if I'm correct, you also wanted then, in addition to that, it would be helpful to understand what the ethnic breakdown of those children are. So
as I sort of went through when I went through the strengths, our early years pupils have got a good level of development that's higher than both national looked after and all of the pupils of that age range in Luton, whether they're looked after or not. As I said as well, there is an increase in percentage of our Key Stage 2 pupils who are achieving expected in reading, writing and maths compared to last year's data as well. And then in each of the graphs, we've got the children that are what are classed as eligible, that have been in care for over 12 months. And I've included that data next to the data of the children who have come into care at any time. So if they came in yesterday, so you can see that comparison. So and that shows you the difference that those that have been in care for a longer period of time, the impact it's had compared to those that have only been in care for a short amount of time. And that's in each of the attainment graphs within the report.
Thank you. Just before I take Councillor Wynn's question, could you just, for the benefit of any public member who might be watching, just outline what the virtual school actually is? Is it, because, I mean, they'll be thinking, well, it might just be an online school. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, because many people are misled by the name and do believe that we are an online school, and of course that isn't what we do. So we have a statutory responsibility to promote the educational outcomes of children that are looked after up to the age of, we monitor and have personal education plans in place for our cohort up to the end of year 13. So we're not actually a school, we don't teach lessons. So what we do is promote educational outcomes by providing schools with £660 per term. We meet with the schools and along with social workers and carers, and we put in place a personal education plan which are reviewed and updated termly. And those education plans are to really look at what we can do extra to close those gaps that we know form nationally when it comes to children that are in care. So through that, we look at educational outcomes. What can we do to improve those? What can we do to improve their engagement? So if their attendance starts to drop, if their attendance is below 90%, what can we do with that money to try and improve that? And if those two things are going really well as well, we can also look at enrichment and giving them that breadth of experience as well with that funding. So really we sort of are focusing on education, engagement and enrichment. We also ensure that children have a school place as quickly as possible when they move placements or when they go into care. If they're not remaining in the school they're in, we seek out and apply for schools that are good or better. Obviously that will change a little bit with the change in Ofsted gradings, but we're just awaiting for guidance when it comes to how that is going to be measured. And just for example, strategies we take, we may offer, for example, and fund tuition if it's needed. We might provide a mentor if that is what's needed for that pupil. It could be equipment. Maybe they need a laptop, maybe they need some other form of equipment that will help them access learning more effectively. And we also provide training for schools, training for social care. So we really are, in a way, education advocates. So we're not an actual school, we're not actually teaching them. We are providing that challenge to schools, and we are treating the children as though they were, as a corporate parent, where as a parent you'd want them to be in the best schools. You want to make sure that they have really good attendance. You want to make sure they have every opportunity available to them. So that is the role of the virtual school.
Thank you. Councillor Wynne?
Yes, thank you, Chair. You've just, it wasn't the question I was going to ask, but it's risen because of what you just said. Did I hear the word that you're giving £600 a year or £660 a year? Because that doesn't sound like very much.
£660 per term. Yeah, it's distributed termly, and that is we call it pupil premium plus funding.
No, my real question was, it occurs in two places. First on page 21 of the papers we have today, which says, on one of the bullet points, it says that there has been an increase in out-of-borough placements requiring additional education support. That was on page 21. And on page 30, it was suggesting that there were a large number of learners in other authorities.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to see in the report how many people we were talking, how many pupils we were talking about in other authorities, or which ones they were. So if you could address those two, that would help me.
Yep. Bear with me so I can pull up the information.
21 was my first one, if that's any help. Third bullet point. And 30, page 30 was my next one.
Okay, one moment. So page 31, I have on my page 31 about inclusion in attendance. Is that the document? I don't think it mentions out of area on.
No, I was looking at, if we go back to page 30,
Just to help you there, Councillor, it's 5.4 educational placement moves,
Okay,
page 30.
Thank you. 5.4. Thank you. Okay, so we outside of Luton, we had children in the following 30 local authorities. Yeah, we haven't put the numbers of how many are in each authority, but we have got the authorities listed that we have children placed in.
I guess it's not my specialist area, but I'm guessing that a child being placed in another local authority, which then implies therefore being further away from family and support and so on, would have a negative effect on the educational outcome. That's what's sitting behind my question.
Right, and that is why we are in place, and that's why this role is there, really, to make sure that no matter where they're placed within the country, nationally, that they have the same opportunities, and our service is completely equitable. So whether a child is placed in Luton or outside of Luton, our service is equitable for them, and we are working with and that's where it goes back to where we said about the strength of our partnerships with other local authorities. We work alongside those local authorities to ensure that the best schools are sourced, the best schools that meet the needs of those pupils, and that we also still attend the PEP meetings exactly, in every term, which is whether they're out of the area or within Luton. So our offer is completely equitable in that, as much as it can be. But obviously they will, if they're moved out of Luton, they will unfortunately have to, most of the time, they will have to move school placement.
Thank you. And can I use Chair's privilege here just to follow up, because it was something I was thinking of what Councillor Wynne has asked. I was just wondering, do you stay with that child when it moves out of the area for a term, a year, for the rest of their education up to 18?
Yes, we stay with them up to the end of year 13. We keep the termly PEPs going throughout their time. So yeah, it only is when they become care leavers, and then when they become care leavers, then we have an education, employment and training service where they can come. We have drop-ins online drop-ins and in-person drop-ins where they can come along with or without their personal advisor and have appointments to support with careers guidance, CVs, higher education applications, funding applications, anything to do with education, employment and training. And we also have an education, employment and training Padlet with all current opportunities updated monthly for them to access as well.
Thank you. Councillor Begum, I believe you had a question.
I do. I've got a couple of questions actually. First question being, let me just go back to the page. So where you've got on page 25 with regards to ethnicity, I don't know whether this is just a typo error or whether I'm just reading it wrong. I've read it several times and I still can't make sense of it. Where you say, towards the end of the paragraph on 4.3, you say white children are the highest ethnic group in care at 52% compared with white children only comprising 28% of all children in the local authority.
Correct, yeah.
Could you just clarify what you mean by that?
So in terms of ethnicity of that age group of children in the whole of Luton, being a super diverse town, the second statistic of the percentage of white British children, is only, haven't got the page. Could you just
Page 25.
Page 25. What's the point?
4.3.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so the majority of the virtual school cohorts, the children that are in care, 52% are white, and then obviously I followed it with the majorities following that. However, that isn't proportionate to the amount of white British pupils within Luton, because they are totaling 28%.
Yeah, it's just that, I mean, I've read it a few times and I just, numbers are not my thing anyway, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it. Obviously,
yeah,
it just didn't quite make the sense that it's making now. Okay, so my next question then is on page 36, where you've got your, just under your chart, under the bar graph that you've got.
Could you just give me the point, please? Because I think for some reason my page numbers are different to everybody's.
So it's your page 21 at the top where you've got the bar chart. And then you've got a bit of writing underneath it before you've got reasons for suspension. It's our page 36 and their page perhaps 21.
Yep, I have it. Yes, thank you.
So where it says about the suspensions of year 10 students, it says it could be linked to the change and challenges of the GCSE curriculum. And it says, however, capturing the child's voice will be helpful. Have you not attempted to capture the child's voice before?
When it comes to their suspensions? We haven't previously. This is for last academic year, so we have got now new processes in place to capture children's voices. And we have got a greater focus on our year 10s and 11s. And are working with schools to reduce the suspensions and look at ways we can use therapeutic support, alternative provisions, reduction in curriculum to help the children regulate in those year groups with those additional pressures. And then their voices are now more robustly being captured within the PEPs, within the personal education plans, and that feeds into the targets that are set and the plans that are put in place for that pupil.
I mean, I do find it concerning, the fact that there is such a hike for year 10 and 11, especially when those years are really, really crucial for young people in terms of their education. And I think there perhaps, I mean, it says that there could be a link to their GCSE challenges and the curriculum itself. But have you thought of the fact that developmentally as well, there is that challenge in terms of hormones, in terms of obviously what's going on in the family, externally, what they're taking in internally, and the stimuli around them. So, I mean, I do understand that it is challenging for schools, because I myself, when I had to interview a student today with EHCP plans in place, alarm bells were ringing, the pupil was homeschooled. For me, it's concerning because it means that I'm going to have a number of students in my class next year with additional needs, and they will come with additional baggage in terms of emotional and social anxieties and things like that. So obviously, if we can't capture certain things like the child's voice at this stage, it makes it harder when they go on to colleges and university and so on. And it feels sad in a way that we are, although we always had access to all this data, we still haven't done enough to capture their voices, to make a change for them for the better. So I just find it really concerning.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, in your chart at the bottom, this one here, still on the same page, where you've got other, and you've got 9 in Luton, 5 out of area, and 14 in total. What is the other? So what is the other reasons why people are suspended?
There would be, these are the categories that they get recorded. These are the DFE categories. So that's why it's recorded like that. It could be a whole range of things. It could be bullying. It could be, you know, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head of the different reasons now. But we've got the suspension letters, but that detail what the actual reasons are. So we are aware. It's just for the purpose of reporting, we went with the DFE codes.
Okay, I think it would be nice to know what the other category is, because obviously the number itself, you just look at it in general, because we don't have access to that data, whereas yourself, you do. So you know what that's made up of.
Yes.
But for us to see other 9, and that's quite a big number compared to some of the other numbers. So it'd be nice to have an indication of what those numbers are. But my last point is not really a question. It's on your page 24, our page 39 of the case study. I know in case studies we don't normally put in any identifying features of the person or the